What up, my little horror huzz? That's right, it's Brain Rot Dill. And we're back at it again with another nostalgia classic. And we're going to be doing a little deep dive on one of my favorite horror movies of all time, Dark Castle's remake of 13 Every Ghost. You know that movie with our boy Matthew Lillard, Tony Shalhoub, that fine girl from American Pie. And they're inside like that house, dude, with all the ghosts, and there's 13 of them, and they're inside the house because the house is haunted with 13 different ghosts. Yeah, that's right. But not only are we just going to be talking about that movie, because I've been there, done that. Who wants to see an old fat frog? Talked about a movie everyone's talked about a million times. Today we're going to do something a little different. We are going to motherfucking rank each ghost individually, talk about their lore a little bit, and see which one I think is the most scariest and which one is like, why were they even in the movie? So if that sounds of interest to you, come hang out with me. Let's do this. Let's get it. What up, y'all? Welcome back to Phantom of the Indie Review. I am your host. That poster is freaky, Dill. We are on the journey of 4,000 subscribers. By whenever the fuck we get there, we are so close I can taste it. Okay, I feel... Wait, what's that song? I don't care, I love it. That song? That's where I was going. Billy, stop looking at me. If you're into horror, spooky shit, goofing around with a dude that's not that funny, me. If you like beardless baddies, come hang out with me and give me a chubby. 13 Ghosts kicks off when this deranged madman, Cyrus Criticos, has the fucking genius idea to come up with this crazy machine which would grant homeboy powers from hell. He's like next level mastermind, dude. Just a bland old dude's like, I want to take over the world. I want to be ruthless. And there's a certain criteria within this Malefician construct that really makes him have to work hard and put in the work and like get some ghosts souls to power it. The only way Cyrus could get this machine to work is if the spirits of the Black Zodiac were made complete. And Cyrus had gathered all the ghosts to achieve his goal. This machine is called the Oculus Infernum. Yeah, that's right. Very Latin. I think it means like hell machine. I don't know. But all the ghosts are connected through their tragic pasts and deaths, dying in a way that fulfills a certain set of criteria represented in their names. You know, such as like the withered lover, for example. So all these people that had died in their past, they pretty much gotta like, it's pretty much like Indeed or LinkedIn for ghosts. It's like, do you fit the criteria? Do you have your CNA? Do you like asbestos? Were you killed by an avalanche? So it's like, he has to get all this perfect number of ghosts to kind of unlock it, you know? And despite the movie's name, there are only 12 ghosts until the end. Our man Cyrus gets this nice, hardworking father, Arthur, to move in with his family. He's struggling, he's grieving the death of his wife. And Cyrus initially planned to force Arthur to sacrifice himself and become the 13th ghost, called the Broken Heart. Imagine being a ghost called the Broken Heart. That's genuinely devastating. That'd be badass. The 13th ghost in 13 Ghosts can only be created by a person sacrificing themselves in an act of love, which Arthur was prepared to do for his family. And luckily, he didn't do it, and the entire Black Zodiac is unleashed to live their life. Even though they killed many people in this house, we'll forgive, but we'll never forget. So with that being said, let's dive into it. Let's talk about these ghosts and rank them from what I think is the least scariest to the most scariest. Coming in at number 13. Let's just get number 13 out of the way, because there wasn't one. It would have been the Broken Heart, because seeing Tony Shalhoub, seeing Monk as a ghost, not scary. Popping in at number 12, though, has to be the Bound Woman. The Bound Woman is one of the few ghosts that notably has less screen time and gives less exposition on the matter, so that kind of makes it obviously inherently less scary. She looks creepy, but her name was Susan LeGros and had a privileged upbringing. She was rich, popular cheerleader who dated the captain of the school football team. That was until the captain found her with another boy on prom night and had a rather horrific reaction, bludgeoning his romantic rival to death and strangling Susan with his own tie. She fucked around and found out and got brutally killed. It's unjustifiable, man. She was hooking up with her homeboy. He wore high heels, she wore t-shirts, she's cheer captain, and she was on the bleachers, and then she got murked. God. And the reason she's last on this list, for the most part, other than Tony Shalhoub, is because, again, she's very seldomly in the film. Coming in at number 11, the Firstborn Son. Of all the ghosts in 13 Ghosts, the Firstborn Son has one of the most sympathetic and tragic backstories. And it's kind of unfair to, like, label him as being evil and ruthless because, you know, he's just a kid. He didn't know better. But the Firstborn Son was a boy named Billy Michaels who had an unhealthy obsession with pop culture involving cowboys and indigenous people. Cowboys and Indians, kind of like that little motherfucker from Willy Wonka, the one obsessed with TV. Damn. But any attempt to rip him away from his fantasy would enrage him. But that didn't protect Billy from a real arrow fired into his head by another boy during an ill-conceived duel. That's right, he was so hell-bent and deep on this. He's like, I like cowboys and I like indigenous people. Fuck Christopher Columbus. And they're like, dude, my dad's got an arrow. You want to play with it much? And he got domed, bro. He got red dot, headshot, dead shot. And he died, tragically. And that's sad, but at the end of the day, he's a little boy. He's a little boy ghost. How scary can that be? Coming in at number 10. Has to be the only ghost in the whole fucking show that his name makes sense. The torso. Because he's just a torso. Like, again, how scary could an actual torso be? You can't see me. You can't run. But he's a disembodied torso wrapped in cellophane, which is actually kind of creepy and is very disturbing to look at. The torso, aka Jimmy Gambino, our boy Jimmy Gambino, getting in debt down in Atlantic City, getting those prostitutes. He was a compulsive gambler, and he was also a bookie, but his own gambling prevented him from being able to pay out the winnings of a madman in the mob. Goons killed Jimmy and dumped his remains into the ocean. That's crazy that, like, Cyrus found this body and was like, yep, that's Jimmy Gambino. He was a gambler. We need him for the fucking Oculus Infernum. What if you grabbed the wrong torso, dude? What if you grabbed the torso of just, like, some prostitute that got chopped up by Jack the Ripper in 1804? Whenever the fuck Jack the Ripper happened. That one we'll let slide because it's a creepy looking a body wrapped up in cellophane, hobbling down the hallway. Freaky. Coming in at numero 9. This one breaks my heart. The withered lover, Arthur's wife, who passed away tragically. Imagine that, dude. I know he loves his kids and he's trying to be a great father, but he dead ass could have been like with his wife. The withered lover and the broken heart, but he chose life. The withered lover is one ghost that was not a threat to the family in the House of Horrors due to her particular tragic backstory. Cyrus found his ghost for the withered lover segment of the Black Zodiac from his own family. That's right. She was Jean Criticos, the wife of protagonist Arthur. I already said that, so I don't know why I'm saying it like it's shocking. And the mother of his children, naturally. Jean died in a house fire that the rest of her family survived, and it's the only one of the ghost backstories that's shown on screen in 13 Ghosts. Obviously, because the movie starts off with the burn scene and the tragic unfoldings. It's a very heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching scene. It's very scary. You really sympathize. You really feel how much Arthur loved her, how much the kids miss her, and they remorse her passing. And she was beautiful, and now she's all burned up and crisp, and she's a ghost. And I can't believe Cyrus did this to his own daughter, man, or I think it was his daughter. She was never a vengeful spirit, and she wasn't one of the ghosts who sought revenge. But she's this low on the list, middle of the list, because she was creepy. It was, not creepy, because the story was more impactful. Like, it was more brutal and heartfelt, that it makes you sympathize more. Because what if she did turn on them? That'd be fucking nuts. 12, 11. Coming in at number 8, the Angry Princess. Sounds like me when I don't have my late night snackies. Stop looking at me! Like the firstborn son and the bound woman, the Angry Princess backstory is tragic and makes her a figure of empathy as much as fear. Her name is Dana Newman. The Angry Princess was an incredibly beautiful woman by all standards but her own. Sadly, she was unable to be happy with her looks, seeing imperfections others didn't, and constantly trying to improve her appearance through surgery. After a self-administrated but botched facial surgery left her disfigured, Dana died by sewer slide. So, body dysmorphia, whatever, you know, just because you're pretty on the outside doesn't mean you're not broken on the inside. You know, people have the trauma and guilt all the time. Like, beauty is within the eye of the beholder, but also beauty is a standard you set for yourself, and she could not take her looks anymore, so she ended it. The slimy Laura character, Ben Moss, makes a rude comment about her nude, ghostly appearance and pays for it accordingly. Thanks for him mocking her appearance, she makes him her first target when she is freed, and he dies horribly. Like, he gets got, and that's actually a brutal kill scene. Yeah, I like that one. Coming in next, the one that I just always found the most fascinating for my own personal reasons, that I wish had more screen time, more story, more lore, is the Pilgrimess. The Pilgrimess? The fucking Pilgrimess. Her name was Isabel Smith. The Pilgrimess was a victim of the Salem witch trial hysteria that gripped New England in the late 1600s. And again, that's why I love it. I'm from New England. We grew up like people on the West Coast and over in Washington and shit, grew up learning about the Trail of Tears and real life fucking tragedy. We grew up learning about the Salem witch trials and Hocus Pocus, and the Pilgrimess just had that aesthetic vibe that always creeped me out a little bit. A local outcast, Isabel was accused of witchcraft, and when the attempted burning didn't work, the perception that she was evil only increased. In the end, the Pilgrimess was left to slowly die of starvation in the stocks. Her ghost remains locked in when she becomes one of the black zodiacs. Yeah, that's so, like, yeah, she's not a ghost. This fucking fire didn't work, bro. We could hang her, drown her, stone her. No, we're just gonna not feed the fat bitch. Like, that's brutal, that's insane. And I'm not undermining the Salem witch trials. They were very real and tragic and kind of like ignorant, but that's brutal, bro. Like, you thought she was a witch, so you, like, witches don't get food. Coming in next, a fan favorite, if you will. Coming in next, one of my personal favorites. 2, just because the name, like, I almost changed my name legally to this. The Torn Prince. The threat of the Torn Prince can be missed when compared to the likes of the Jackal and the Juggernaut. The Torn Prince was a high school baseball star in the late 50s. That's why he's got the baseball bat to beat bitches with. His name was Royce Clayton, and the Torn Prince died during a drag race after losing control of his car in a horrific accident. He shouldn't blame himself, though, since his opponent had secretly tampered with his brakes. So a homeboy baseball player getting at girls, has the riz, getting all the chopped huzz. He's too cool, and his homeboy, I guarantee that his op was named like Clarice. He's like, I'm gonna tamper with his brakes to show him who's boss. And he got, bro, and he died tragically. Very James Dean-esque, very of the era. All those pretty boys dying in car wrecks back in the 1950s. And the Torn Prince, I just always liked his aesthetic and name, though. That's why I'm kind of leaning towards him more, because I'm a biased hypocrite. Is hypocrite the right word? I don't fucking know. And though he's not the most dangerous of all the ghosts in 13 Ghosts, he can definitely cause some havoc with his weapon. And he's one of the more violent ones. He's like, I got my baseball bat. He's like, hey, it's me, Clayton, and I'm here to fucking wreak havoc on you. I'd like to think he had like that Danny Zuko voice. He's like, hey, I'm a grease and I'm gonna fucking bash your brains in. We in the final 4, technically 5, because this next one, I know it's a fan favorite, even though they're very rarely on screen. And I did a backstory video on it before, so if you want to check it out, check it out. Watch that video. It's one of my first ones. The Great Child and the Dire Mother. Yeah, dude, the little dwarf mother and the big fat oaf son. That dynamic's hilarious but terrifying. The Great Child and the Dire Mother are among the creepiest of the ghosts. Margaret Shelburne was a woman with dwarfism who worked in a freak show style carnival. Her enormous son Harold was the result of a sexual assault by the carnival's tallest member of the freak trope. And like, yeah, so she was sexually assaulted by this big goofy dude, and everyone got like pissed and killed her for it. Like, you bitch, or something. I explain it way better and less funny in my old video. This leads Harold to go crazy with an axe and kill most of them before he gets killed by the crazy mob. So yeah, big, crazy, slow baby, and he's like, Mama, where's my Milky? And she gets killed for the backlash of the carnival, and then that upsets him and he kills them all. So it's a very beautiful, poetic story. Again, I'm not trying to plug shit, but watch my old video. I describe it way much better. This one's more just talking about the vibe, look, and scares, the fear I get. But now, are y'all ready for the top 3 or not? Because these top 3 are obvious, so I'm sorry, I'm cliche, but these ones are the scariest. And coming in at number 3, that's right, a serial killer before his death, the Juggernaut. He has that epic, awesome scene in the fucking junkyard at the beginning of the movie, dude. It's so awesome. Matthew Lillard's in that scene. Oh, Matthew Lillard is such a cute boy. Horace Breaker Mahoney, aka the Juggernaut, is definitely the most dangerous out of all the 13 ghosts in 13 Ghosts. He can be considered almost a final boss of the Black Zodiac. A mountain of a man, Horace was a serial killer who would pick up hitchhikers or offer rides to the stranded, only to take them back to his junkyard and tear them apart with his bare hands. He'd then feed their bodies to his dogs. Yeah, what a fucking brutal, ruthless goat, dude. Like, serial killer lore is always fun. The fact they hated junkyard and fed the bodies to his dog, that's creepy inherently. And he was just a vibe. I just wish, even though he was so belligerent, he was in the movie more. I really hope they do like a 13 Ghosts spin-off like they've been saying for the last few years, because we need deep stories on this, dude. That would make mad money. Please, Hollywood, give us the fucking 13 Ghosts HBO series. The Juggernaut is the first ghost that is introduced thanks to flashbacks of Cyrus and Matthew Lillard's Dennis capturing him from the Oculus Infinite machine. And the fucking Juggernaut sadly decimates our boy Matt Lillard. Dennis, I think that's the character he kills. Fuck, that makes him scarier, dude. Leave Shaggy alone, dude. And he did some of the most damage in the movie emotionally to our heartstrings. I'll never forgive you, Juggernaut. But now we're in the final 2, and these 2 have always been the most obvious. I don't like to do obvious lists. You know me, guys. You know I like to keep it real. I like to be outside the box and like non-conformist and think I'm cooler than everyone. But these 2 just scared me the most. Coming in at number 2. The Hammer. Big, creepy, belligerent looking monster. The Hammer is among one of the most terrifying of the ghosts in the film. Born George Markley, the Hammer wasn't a bad person, working as a blacksmith in a small town. That was until he was falsely accused of theft by a white man and his family was brutally murdered. In grief-fueled rage, George took his thrusty sledgehammer and bludgeoned the killers. Of course, the townspeople blamed him and killed him by driving railroad spikes into his body. Just a hard-working man. Like, that's America for you. This is bullshit, dude. Just because he was black, you gotta fuck with him. This is bullshit and devastating. It's wrong. Like, George was a good guy. What's his name? George Thurston? Yeah, George was a good guy, dude. He had a loving family, and he was just a big brute. And you're like, thief, kill his family for it. Like, I would take revenge, too. I would get fucking pissed. And jamming railroad spikes into the man. Like, you could have just hung him. Starved him like you did the pilgrimess, but that's brutal, dude. No wonder why he's so fucking pissed. And a lot of other movies in the 2000s weren't known for commenting on that. They always, like, still use the stereotype and tropes of black people in movies, you know, get killed first or all these whatever little inconsistencies. Funny jokes, but no, this one was very tragic and brutal. Even though his entire death and return is very reminiscent of the Candyman in the story, as he died in a terrible and violent manner, but he is one of the angriest and most violent ghosts in the house. But the number one that is always going to be number one to me, and I know y'all going to agree to this, tell me if I'm wrong, the jackal. Ooh. Easily the most volatile and unpredictable out of all the ghosts, the jackal. His name was Ryan Kunn, and in 1887, he grew up to be sick and twisted man. The jackal is also one of the few of the 13 ghosts who was just as violent and sadistic before they became a spirit. Some of them, like the Hammer, the dwarf Lady Margaret, you know, the bound lover, whatever. They were just normal people and they became pissed with the resentment of being a ghost. Can you blame them? But Ryan Kunn was a dirty dog. A vicious and compulsive sexual predator and killer, Ryan did actually seek help for his affliction, checking into an asylum. Before long, he had completely lost what was left of his mind. He eventually died and became one of the 13 ghosts when the asylum burned down. And this makes him a truly evil ghost. This makes him a truly evil ghost. Is a very tragic past, but you know, he was a sick, tormented man where we would love more of a backstory. And that's what I love about all these ghosts. They all stand out. They're all special. They all have their own creepy aesthetic and stories. And some are cliche, you know, like the half-torn prince with that 1950s vibe, the angry princess with that vain, that contrast of being everyone being vain because everyone looks at her like she's pretty, but she doesn't feel that way. You know, serial killers, the Carniac. Like, they're all kind of like staples in horror, but I feel like it was done well, and whoever like chose these characters and looks and stories deserves an Oscar within itself. It's a very fun and amazing vibe, if you ask me. And the fact that this movie is a remake is cool because the 2001 13 Ghosts is a remake of the 1960 movie of the same name, but they're totally different, especially when it comes to the ghosts. The 13 Ghosts movie in the 60s doesn't expand much on its titular ghosts and doesn't name the spirits in the house inherited by the Zobra family. They are also considerably less violent, both in terms of their actions and how they died. Obviously, though, because it was the 1960s, but for a remake, they really took their liberties and hit it on the head. But thank you guys so much for watching. What do you feel about this video? Was it good? Please comment down below your list. I would love to know because I know everyone's is different. Jackal's always going to be number one, but you know, there's some that can go back and forth. I would love to know. Comment anything. Comment fucking anything. Tell me how your day was, for all I care. I do care. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe. Give me a thumber. Hit that ding-a-ling button harassing you, telling you, hey, it's me, I'm here. And I'm going to say a 1 time for the 1 time and 2 time for the O's. Give me a hell yeah for horror.
Come on, let's go. Come on.
It's like, I'm the motherfucker that's going to save all your lives. And you're like, oh, hell yeah, I kind of like this guy. And then instantly, like within minutes, he gets brutally killed. And you're like, holy shit. But his wife doesn't, and she comes in. And this movie has a great job of slowly revealing